dog before turning her attention to the man sitting stiffly in his wheelchair near the window. His dark eyes were fixed outside, jaw tense, fingers tapping lightly against the armrest. 𝐀𝐫𝐫𝐚𝐧𝐠, third session, and not a single proper conversation yet. Alright, she began softly, her voice a gentle contrast to the silence. Time for our routine stretches. We'll start with the hamstring. 𝐶 didn't respond. He only rolled his eyes faintly and shifted his legs as she gestured. I knelt beside him, carefully adjusting the support strap around his thigh. Their proximity forced her to lean closer than usual. The faint scent of his cologne, something she still remembered, lingering in the air. He tensed. Relax him, she said, keeping her voice light, eyes focused on her hands. Your muscles are already fighting me. Fine, he muttered dryly. She smiled, even at the one word, progress. Did you ever imagine we would meet like this? She asked quietly, attempting a small talk again, brushing hair behind her ear nervously. No, he replied. Cold, one word, again. Silence hung between them for a moment as Wine gently maneuvered his leg. Her hands moved carefully, professionally, but the closeness stayed at 1,000-old memories. You have changed, she said softly. We used to talk a lot. I had things to talk about. You still do. She tried glancing up. He stared straight ahead, face unreadable. Not with you. That stung, but she masked it with a soft chuckle. I'm your therapist now. You're kind of stuck with me. His lips twitched, maybe the ghost of a smirk, but it faded as quickly as it appeared. Wine moved to stretch his other leg and spoke gently. You know, back in college, I always thought you'd become a CEO of some fancy company. I did, he muttered. She looked up, blinking. You did? Before I got crippled. A heavy pause filled the room, her hands still on his legs. 𝐶, don't pretend like you care now. He looked at her now, eyes sharp, bitter. Why did you leave? Wine froze, meeting his gaze. Her lips parted, but the answer stayed stuck in her throat. You just disappeared. He continued, voice quieter but pained. I begged you not to go. Her breath caught. He remembered. She looked down, fingers fiddling with the Velcro strap. It was important. He frowned. What? I had to kill my heart. She couldn't voice those words out loud. She looked up, eyes warm but heavy. It was important, or else how would I treat you now? A bitter chuckle escaped him. I can't get better. Mom's just putting efforts in vain. Don't say that. Her voice was stern for the first time. She sat up straighter, eyes locked with his. You'll get better, 𝐶. Maybe not now, but sooner. He scoffed. You always believed in fairy tales, and you didn't believe enough. She countered, her tone soft again. We can still be friends, can't we? Friends, he echoed, tone dry again. You didn't even keep in touch. She laughed nervously, brushing hair behind her ear again. I used to see your social media posts, but then one day you just stopped, so I called your mom. That's when I found out. His expression shifted, something in his eyes softening for a fleeting second. Wine tried to lighten the mood. So, how's Zelia? His jaw clenched, his hand curled into a fist. She's gone. Oh, she left, he bit out. Her father wanted her to marry his friend's son. She was hesitant until I got crippled. Then she lost interest in me. Wine's hand paused mid-motion. I'm sorry, she said softly. Don't be. Everyone leaves. She shook her head, standing and walking behind him to check his back muscles. Not everyone. He didn't respond, just sat there, jaw tight. So, she said, voice lighter, trying to change the air. Remember that time in college, when you tried to ride my bicycle and fell into the bushes? He snorted, the smallest laugh. He pushed me. You asked me to, she giggled. Said you had great balance. A silence followed, but softer this time, comfortable. Her laugh echoed in the quiet room, gentle, warm, and exactly like it used to be. They turned slightly, his gaze falling on her face. You haven't changed. She blinked. He looked away. That laugh, still the same, still annoying. She chuckled again, flustered, turning her face away. Still mean, I see. Their eyes met briefly, and for a moment it wasn't a therapy room. It was years ago, under cherry blossoms and youthful banter, before heartbreak, before silence. You're still that naive, innocent girl, he said softer this time. I thought the world would change you. He tried, she whispered gently, massaging his shoulder, but I held on. Their eyes met again. His filled with something unreadable. Hers laced with memories she had buried for years. The silence between them now was heavy with all the things unsaid. Time skipped. A month to therapy session, but 𝐶 still couldn't feel his legs. He and Wine grew close all this time. Suddenly, a day before their marriage, Mrs. Kim informed 𝐶 that she has arranged his marriage. 𝐶, in shock, immediately declined, but Mrs. Kim sternly said not to speak a word about it. She has been bugging him since so long. It's time to settle down. Today it was their wedding and Them attended the ceremony with a poker face and cold eyes. The silence in the room was broken only by the faint creak of the wheelchair as Wine gently rolled Them inside. He stared straight ahead, cold eyes fixed on nothing in particular, expression unreadable. She stopped the wheelchair near the edge of the bed, hesitant. "We're here," she said softly, unsure of what else to say. Just as she turned to walk toward the wardrobe to fetch his robe, his cold voice cut through the silence like glass. "Why did you agree to marry me?" Her heart sank. She slowly turned around, trying to read his tone, but it was devoid of emotion, like it always was these days. He looked at her now, face passive, but his eyes were sharp. "Why didn't you tell me Mom was planning this?" He asked again, voice laced with bitterness. "She forced me, left me with no choice. Shouldn't have agreed." Wine took a breath, walking to stand in front of him. "Just like you, I didn't know our parents were planning this either. Your mom said you had no problem with it, so I didn't see any reason to say no." His hands gripped the arms of the wheelchair tightly. "I never agreed. I wouldn't keep you chained to me like this. You're free to do as you please." Just Them knew how much it hurt to say that. Wine stared at him for a long moment. Her heart whispered what her lips dared not. "You're not a chain, you're the man I have always loved." But she swallowed that truth and asked quietly, "Why?" "Because you're still chained to your past, to Zelia." He flinched visibly at the name but remained silent as he looked away. "I don't want to ruin your life by chaining you to a cripple. I wish I never went to that place," he thought to himself. One step closer, was quiet but firm. "You're my patient Them. Let's not forget that. We should get changed." "I hate this," he whispered. "I hate needing help." Without hesitation, Wine placed her hands on either side of his wheelchair, leaning down until her face was just inches from his. The sudden proximity made his breath hitch, the warmth of her skin, the faint scent of lavender surrounded him. "Then get better," she whispered. "Prove me wrong." Then stared up at her, captivated. Her eyes were still the same, soft, sincere, painfully beautiful. The distance between them felt almost non-existent. Her breath tickled his skin, and for a brief moment he forgot he couldn't stand. Suddenly the door burst open with a loud thud. A small boy with the fairest pout and the most dramatic expression stormed in like a knight in the battle. One straightened up, laughing lightly. "Raphael." The 5-year-old stopped in his tracks, grinning with pride at the recognition. "Yes, it's me." Wine crouched down, resting her arms on her knees as he walked over. Then watched with a scowl. "Of course," he muttered under his breath. Raphael poked Wine's cheek cautiously with his tiny finger. "This is how brides are?" he asked with curious eyes. She giggled. "Something like that." Raphael moved closer and lowered his arms over her shoulders. "Daddy says I'll have a bride too someday, but I don't want anyone else. I want you." Wine burst into laughter, hugging the little boy. "You're too adorable." Tim closed his arms. "Great, just great. My own nephew's trying to steal my wife. Can't even catch a break on my wedding night." He whispered the last 2 sentences to himself, but then cursed himself, realizing what had he just said to Wine. Raphael turned around with fire in his eyes. "You're a bad uncle. You're rude. I don't like you." Then narrowed his eyes. "You don't have to like me. I have seen better toddlers." Raphael huffed, nostrils flaring, his nose turning a cute shade of red. "I'll have chips for myself. Stop me if you can." Wine blinked. "Chips?" Raphael smiled proudly. "That's you, your chips." Wine laughed again, cupping his face. "I have never had such a cute nickname." He kissed her cheek, making her giggle more. Thing, on the other hand, looked like he might combust from sheer annoyance. "Mr. Chui," he barked, making Raphael jump slightly. "Get in here and help me change." I shook her head and ruffled Raphael's hair. "You, mister, have me in an enemy tonight." He started it. Raphael muttered, glaring back at them, who mockingly stuck his tongue out. One stood up and took Raphael's hand. "Let's leave your grumpy uncle alone for now. He needs to change." "Come on, chaps, going with you." Raphael beamed and waved at them with the smugness of a little prince. "I'll take care of her, don't wait up." As the door closed behind them, Them sat back in his chair, staring at the closed door, a hand pressed to his rapidly beating chest. She hadn't changed, still that soft, naive, radiant girl, and now she was his wife. But all he could think was he didn't deserve her. Not like this, not when he couldn't even stand. Yet her words echoed in his mind. "Then get better, prove me wrong." He exhaled deeply and clenched his fists. He didn't know if he could walk again, but for her, maybe he could try. Few days later, it had been a few days since Wine started treating Them with strict professionalism. No more lingering glances, no more playful banter, just a nurse and her patient, and it was driving Them mad. She was careful with her words, only speaking when necessary, and most of her attention went to Raphael, who who had grown increasingly attached to her. 𝐻𝐿 could only watch from a distance, his pride bruised, his patience thinning. Today was no different. Mrs. Kim had noticed it too. She wasn't exactly subtle about it either. "I wonder," she said this morning over tea, eyeing herself from across the room, "what kind of man breaks his own heart so efficiently?" 𝐻𝐿 scowled. "You have been watching too many dramas." "No, just you sulking all day. It's better entertainment." No one sat beside him on the cushioned recliner, gently massaging his legs. She was speaking to Mrs. Kim, who had just entered with her usual bright energy and one smile, wincing subtly every now and then, her face a little too pale, her eyes glassy, but she brushed it off. Suddenly 𝐻𝐿 jerked. One gasped, her eyes widening. "Wait, did you feel that?" 𝐻𝐿 stared down at his legs, his mouth parting slightly, eyes wide. Yeah." A beat of stunned silence passed. Mrs. Kim squealed, nearly dropping her purse. "Oh my God, 𝐻𝐿, you felt that? Wine, darling, thank you. Thank you." Wine's eyes sparkled as she looked up at 𝐻𝐿 with the first genuine grin he had seen in days. "It worked," she whispered softly. 𝐻𝐿 couldn't stop the smile tugging at his lips, the smallest flicker of hope returning to his chest as he stared at her, his heart flickering at the sight of her happy. Her hands still gently moved along his leg, but his attention was entirely on her face. He felt lighter. Like maybe, just maybe things could be okay. Mrs. Kim didn't miss the way 𝐻𝐿 looked at her. Mischief danced in her eyes as she cleared her throat. "Well, Wine, you have been amazing with Raphael too. He adores you." She chuckled. "He's such a sweetheart. We have played hide and seek every day. He even told me I give better hugs than his mom." 𝐻𝐿 scoffed quietly, and one smile curled on Mrs. Kim's lips as she changed the subject. "You know, my friend's son Matthew is visiting soon." "Yes, he texted me he'll be meeting me soon." "It's such a coincidence. My classmate is your best friend's son." Mrs. Kim nodded, glancing at 𝐻𝐿 from the corner of her eyes. "He's a handsome doctor. Why don't you go out with him, Wine?" Wine blinked. "He's really kind, so polite." 𝐻𝐿's jaw clenched. He muttered under his breath, "Of course he is." Mrs. Kim leaned closer to him, whispering, "Jealousy is a good color on your son." Before 𝐻𝐿 could retort, Raphael rushed into the room with Mr. Kim trailing behind him, a plastic bag in his hand. "Chaps!" Raphael squealed, running to hug her tightly. Wine laughed softly, holding him close. "Hey, my little panda." 𝐻𝐿 rolled his eyes, muttering, "Tiny traitor. You're just mad. He doesn't like your boring stories." Wine teased back. "Excuse me, my stories are legendary." "You mean legendary boring." Mrs. Kim shook her head fondly at their bickering. Mr. Kim handed the plastic bag to Wine. "Your medicine." 𝐻𝐿's smile dropped. "Medicine? What's wrong?" Wine shrugged, attempting nonchalance. "Just an upset stomach." Mrs. Kim raised an eyebrow. "And the fever due to which you arrived home early from the clinic this morning?" Wine gave a nervous laugh. "It's not that high." Mrs. Kim narrowed her eyes. "Not high doesn't mean it doesn't exist." 𝐻𝐿 glared at her. "You should have said something." "It's nothing serious. Doesn't matter. You're supposed to take care of yourself too." Wine pouted. "You're scolding me like a quarrelsome auntie." "Because someone needs to knock sense into you." 𝐻𝐿 snapped. Raphael chimed in, climbing onto his lap. "You're sick, chaps. Why didn't you tell me?" "I didn't want to worry you." "Well, I'm worried now," Raphael said dramatically. 𝐻𝐿 looked between the two of them, and then firmly grabbed Wine's wrist. "You're resting now. Hey, no protest," he muttered, dragging her toward the bedroom. "You're bossy when you care," she said, half amused, half touched. "I'm always bossy," he muttered. "But now I have a reason," she grinned. "So you're worried about me?" 𝐻𝐿 paused at the door, then turned to her, his voice soft. "I'm worried because you are a bride," Raphael suddenly shouted, skipping behind them. Wine burst into laughter. 𝐻𝐿 closed his eyes, sighing. "Thanks, kid. I'm just saying what you didn't." Raphael shrugged. Later at night, 𝐻𝐿 sat on his bed waiting, his fingers drummed anxiously against the blanket. Ever since Raphael's tantrum in front of his parents about Wine's fever, they came to see her. Now he was insisting that he wanted to sleep with Wine. 𝐻𝐿 kept glancing at the door, and finally it opened. Wine walked in with Raphael holding her hand. "He insisted he's sleeping with me," she said. 𝐻𝐿 groaned. "Seriously?" She chuckled, heading toward the couch. 𝐻𝐿 wanted to stop her and tell her to come to the bed, but his words were stuck in his throat as a few days ago he said her several times. But she ignored it. "Chaps," Raphael frowned. "Why are you sleeping there? Come to bed." 𝐻𝐿's heart pumped. "I can't," Wine said softly, eyes looking to 𝐻𝐿. "Your uncle needs space." "I'm fine." 𝐻𝐿 blared almost too quickly. Raphael beamed and jumped on the bed. Wine hesitated, then walked over, adjusting 𝐻𝐿's legs gently before pulling the blanket over him. As she leaned in, her hair brushed against his cheek. His breath hissed, his hand twitched and urged to tuck her hair behind her ear to feel her warmth, but she moved away. He sighed. Wine climbed into the bed, lying on the other side of Raphael, who snuggled into her chest like its teddy bear. 𝐻𝐿 and glared at the tiny figure. That should be me. Silence fell over the room, but the air was charged. After a moment, Tim turned his head. "You're not sleeping on the couch anymore." Wayne looked at him across the file. "I'm not?" "No." His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Not when you can be here." She smiled faintly. "You mean here, between you and your nephew?" "I mean here, close enough for me to make sure you're okay." She glanced at him. "Are you sure it's not the fever talking?" He chuckled. "If it was, I'd be saying a lot more." Wayne flushed slightly, looking away. "Like what?" He hesitated. Then softly, "Like how I missed you even when we were in the same room." She met his gaze, warmth spreading in her chest. "I missed you too." She thought to herself. Something shifted. Their eyes held, their breaths clinched. The silence no longer felt heavy, it was comforting. Raphael mumbled in his sleep, his head nuzzling deeper into Wayne's chest. Then groaned quietly. "He's seriously doing this on purpose," Wayne giggled. "He's just a baby." "He's a baby blocking my view." She laughed again, her hand brushing lightly against Tim's arm in the dim light. And for the first time in days, Tim didn't feel like a patient. He felt something more, something real, and Wayne didn't stop smiling. Tim sat on the sofa in the living room, his legs stretched out as he absent-mindedly scrolled through emails on his iPad. He rubbed his palms together and leaned back with a sigh. His legs didn't feel numb anymore, a good sign, but still he hadn't stood up. He recalled this morning when Wayne had rushed around the house, speaking rapidly on the phone while juggling a hairbrush and her laptop. Her brows were furrowed, lips pressed tight, but she still looked beautiful. Tim had watched her wanting to say something, but swallowed his words and she didn't even glance his way. He shrugged it off then. Office deadlines, he reasoned. Now the front door opened and Wayne walked in, her face flushed from the wind and the weight of the day. Her eyes met his briefly, softening instantly. She placed her purse down and walked toward him. "You're back early," she said softly, kneeling before him. "You too," Tim murmured. "Rough day." She hummed a yes and began massaging his legs without another word. Tim stilled. He could feel her touch. His brows lifted in surprise and his breath hitched just slightly. Her hands were firm yet gentle warm, pressing into the muscles of his calves and thighs, drawing small circles. "I can feel that," he whispered in awe. Once her snapped up, eyes wide. "Really?" Tim nodded, his eyes fixed on her like she was a miracle. "It's not just tinkling, I can feel you." A slow smile spread across her face. "That's good. That's really good." She stood up, eyes twinkling. "Okay, now try standing." Tim's smile faded. He shook his head. "No, I can't. I'm not ready." "Yes, you are," came a soft, encouraging voice from the hallway. Mrs. King walked in, smiling gently at her son. "Try, Tim, just once. Try. We are here." One stepped beside her, nodding. Without a word, they both reached out, holding his hands on either side. Tim took a shaky breath, then pushed. His knees trembled. He stumbled once, when gasped and held on tighter. He clenched his jaw, focused, and pushed again. Then he stood, trembling down at his legs as if they belonged to someone else. I'm standing," he whispered in disbelief. One's jaw dropped while Mrs. King clutched her chest in astonishment. They both let go of his hand slowly, but he didn't fall. "You're standing," Wayne exclaimed, teary-eyed. Mrs. King laughed in relief and clapped. "My boy is standing." He chuckled, then quickly sat back down with a shaky exhale. Wayne didn't think. She threw her arms around Mrs. King and hugged her tight, and then instinctively hugged him too. The scent of his cologne wrapped around her like warmth. Realizing what she had done, she quickly tried to pull away, but Tim's arms held her there. From close, she froze. "Taeyong," his voice was low in her ear. "Let me stay like this just for a minute." Mrs. King wiped a tear from her eye. "I'll go tell your father," she said, leaving them. Wayne slowly exhaled in his arms, but after a few moments she pulled back. "You're turning sentimental," she teased, lightly poking his chest. "You hugged me first," he retorted, cheeks flushed. "Accident," she shrugged, grinning. Then this, he tugged on her wrist playfully. "Is revenge." Before she could react, Mr. King entered, face lit with pride. He strolled over and hugged him tightly. "You did it, son. I'm proud of you." Soon the room filled with the rest of the family. Caspian walked in with his wife Hannah and their little boy Raphael, who instantly darted to Tim. "Uncle," Raphael cried, climbing onto his lap. "Hey, troublemaker," Tim smirked. "You're heavy." Raphael pouted. "Not as heavy as you." Everyone laughed. "Now that you're standing," Raphael said, eyes gleaming. "You have to play football with me." "No way," Tim said, sticking out his tongue. "I value my legs too much." Caspian jumped in, laughing. "Hey, don't back out now. You promised this little monster." Hannah sighed, flopping next to Wayne. "I don't know how you tolerate him, Wayne," he said, disaster. Wine giggled. He's adorable. A chaotic tornado. Yes, but adorable. Ken looked at her and smiled, watching her laugh with soft eyes. His gaze lingered. Mrs. Kim clicked her tongue. I swear he gives me a headache, Caspian. Hannah, keep him at your place for now. Raphael gasped and ran to his grandpa. Grandma is being mean to me again. Mr. Kim picked him up, chuckling. That's because you're always being naughty. Hannah gave her son a stern glare, but Mrs. Kim waved her off. Let him be. He makes this house lively. The chatter flowed easily, but suddenly Hannah turned to Wine with a mischievous smile. So how was your date, Wine? Wine's eyes sparkled instantly. It was so nice. We went to this little cafe we used to visit in college. Ken's smile faltered, his chest tightened. He glanced at his mother, who only offered him a knowing smile and leaned in to whisper. If you like her, confess already. I won't let her be stuck in a loveless marriage thing. She deserves happiness. His heart throbbed. Without a word, he wheeled away, rage simmering under his skin. His room door slammed softly behind him. As he ran a hand through his hair, cursing, his jaw clenched, his breath raged. A date? She went on a damn date? He muttered. Moments later, the door creaked open. Raphael peeked in. By road, uncle. Take care of Chips. He grinned, pointing at Wine. Wine crouched, laughing. Chips. You squishy bye. Sam looked away, muttering. So childish of me, I'm jealous of a kid. Once Raphael left, Wine closed the door and turned to him. Why did you leave? Sam didn't answer immediately. His eyes bored into hers. With whom did you go on that date? Wine arched a brow, smirking. Oh, is someone jealous? Sam huffed, folding his arms. Just answer. Wine nodded, narrowing her eyes. But I remember someone told me I'm free to do anything. And clenched his jaw and muttered, embarrassed. I didn't say you can date anyone. She chuckled and sat on the edge of the bed. It was with my best friend. We met after years. Han just made it sound otherwise. Not every date is romantic, genius. He blinked, brows twitching. Before she could react, he pulled her onto his lap. She gasped. There, you can't support my weight to your legs. I can hold this much weight. He said slowly, his arms secure around her waist. But Wine supported her own weight without putting pressure on his legs. Her breath caught as his face hovered inches from hers, eyes locked onto her soul. Why are you looking at me like that? She whispered. He cupped her face gently. Wine, why did you marry me? She swallowed. Because you were my patient. He smiled faintly. You wouldn't marry every patient. Wine opened her mouth to speak, but he silenced her with a kiss, deep, slow, aching. She melted her hands, weaving into his hair, drawing him closer. When they parted, he whispered, I love you. I think if you hadn't left years ago, I might have fallen then. But I was a fool to date Delia. My relationship with her was a mistake. I was too young to understand. Wine blinked. What? Ever since you left, I kept talking about you. I didn't even realize how much I did. She stared at him in disbelief. He brushed her hair back gently. And on our wedding day, I said those words because I thought I would be a burden. You deserve better. Wine stayed quiet, her fingers playing with the hem of his shirt. Say something, he whispered. She smiled and teased. So you're in love with me. He chuckled. That's your response. She leaned closer. What do you want me to say? That you love me back. She blushed and stood up quickly. I need water, she muttered. Oh no, you don't. He grabbed her wrist playfully, running away again. She glared half-heartedly. Cheeks flushed. 𝐾𝐫𝐫𝐚𝐧𝐠. He smiled, eyes twinkling. Blushing suits you. Shut up. Come back here, Mrs. Kim. She giggled, flustered, and tried to walk away again, but both of them knew this was the beginning of something worth fighting for. Wine carefully fastened the clasp of her delicate bracelet, the soft ringing of metal echoing in the quiet room. She wore a long satin dress, smooth against her skin, complementing her soft waves and light makeup. The event they were meant to attend tonight was important. Mr. Kim had personally asked them to attend in his place, but then he was nowhere to be found. Frowning, Wine picked up her phone and began scrolling, her back facing the door. Wine half lost in wondering if Tim was still in the gym room or perhaps resting. The door opened slowly and a soft shuffling sound reached her ears. She turned around and froze. Tim, she breathed. He was there standing at the threshold. His hand gripped the wall and door frame for balance, legs shaking slightly, lips pressed tight in concentration. No crutches, just him pushing. I'll bring the crutches. She started to rush toward him, but he shook his head. No, I want to try without crutches. He said firmly, his voice was soft but steady. Stay there. Wine's heart clenched with affection. Okay, she whispered with a teary smile. Step by step, he inched toward her. His movements were slow and sure but determined. He let go of the wall midway and tried walking freely. His knees wobbled, his arms flailed slightly, but his eyes never left hers. Every step felt like eternity, and then he lost balance. There, Wine rushed to him, catching his arms, but they both tumbled back onto the bed with a surprised gasp. She landed beneath him breathless, her laughter bubbling as his face hovered close. "You okay?" she asked, brushing his hair from his forehead. He nodded, chuckling. "I'm fine, but are you okay?" That was a dramatic fall. "Totally worth it." She grinned, and just then he dipped his head to place a kiss on her forehead. "You look beautiful," he murmured. Gwen's cheeks flushed. "And you're going to mess my hair like that," she muttered as he buried his face in her neck, inhaling her scent. "I don't want to go," he murmured against her skin, pressing a playful kiss near her collarbone. "Thank," she said warningly, trying not to giggle. "It's important for your father. He never asks anything from us." But we weren't the ones who couldn't attend. He teased, lips moving along her neck. One gasped, eyes fluttering shut. "Stop, we're late." Tim grinned, lifting his head to find her peach red. "You're blushing." "I'm not." "You are," he said smoothly. She huffed and tried to get up, but he pulled her down again. "Wait." She blinked. "What?" "I can stand," he said, suddenly serious. "Tim, I want to," he whispered. And just like that, he shifted his weight and slowly rose to his feet. He grabbed the crutches nearby and exhaled deeply. One stared at him, pride and emotion swimming in her eyes. She gently squeezed his arm. "You're incredible, you know that?" He smiled. "I have got a good therapist." One laughed. "Let's go." Soon they arrived at the venue. Ham stepped in beside Wine, his crutches supporting him but his eyes nervous. He could feel the stares. His jaw clenched, but then Wine laced her arm with his, smiling brightly, standing beside him with pride in her posture. Her presence was grounding, steady. "Breathe," she whispered. "I've got you." His shoulders relaxed. "Thank you." They mingled, exchanged pleasantly, smiled at cameras and nodded at acquaintance. It went well, better than Tim expected. Wine never left his side, her hand always gently brushing his arm, grounding him with every gesture. By the time dinner ended, Tim was exhausted. They found a quiet corner and sank into the plush seats, the distant sounds of cutlery and chatter fading behind them. Wine reached for his hand and gently intertwined their fingers. "I'm proud of you," she said sincerely. Tim looked at her, his gaze soft. "It's only because of you." He brought her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. "Thank you for not giving up on me." "I never will," she smiled. Leaning in, she pressed a soft kiss on his lips. It was brief but sweet enough to make his heart trip. Just then, soft classical music filled the air. A slow number, couples began gliding onto the dance floor. Tim watched them with silence. "I want to dance with you," he whispered. Wine turned to him. He looked down at his legs and crutches, sighing before lifting his gaze to hers again. "I can't wait anymore." Wine rested her head on his shoulder, holding his arm. "That day will come soon. We'll dance, jump, run, play, ride bicycle, do everything together." Tim laughed. "Ride bicycle? You're 26, Wine." She shrugged her shoulders. "And you're 27. He laughed, nodding and kissing the crown of her head. They sat like that, tangled in warmth. Wine placed her chin on his shoulder, staring at his side profile. "Let me tell you a secret," she murmured. Tim tilted his head. She smiled. "I left 9 years ago because I had to kill my heart." His brows furrowed, but she continued. "I had feelings for you, but you were with Celia. I didn't want to ruin our friendship, so I ran." Tim sighed, forehead resting against her. "Fine, I'm sorry." She placed her hand on his cheek, eyes soft. "Why be sorry? We were just teenagers." He leaned into her touch, closing his eyes. "I'm glad we found us." Wine nodded. "Me too." He opened his eyes, searching hers, and kissed her. It started gentle but deepened with every breath. Their hands roamed, her fingers in his hair, his cradling her waist. They were lost in each other, oblivious to the world, kissing her like it was the only thing that ever made sense. He pulled back slowly, brushing her hair behind her ear. "I love you," he whispered. "Always have, maybe even when I didn't know it." Wine stared at him, breathless. Wine's lips parted, but instead of replying, she smiled. "So dramatic," he laughed. "Hey." She shrugged. "You say all this now, but you didn't even hold my hand properly until I forced you." "I was being respectful," he defended with a grin. She rolled her eyes. "You were being frustrating." He tucked her onto his lap, making her yelp. "Now who's frustrated?" "Him," she scolded, face flashing. He laughed, pulling her close and whispering into her ear. "You're red again." She smacked his shoulder playfully and tried to stand, but he held her waist tight. "Not so fast, you're mine now," he murmured, gazing at her with that intense look that made her heart tremble. She huffed, cheeks aflame. "You're unbelievable." "And you," he said, brushing his lips along her jawline, "are unforgettable." They stayed like that, laughing, kissing, holding each other, hearts hailing, souls mending, love blooming together. Time skipped. Wan stepped into the room, her heels clicking softly against the polished floor. She carried a small bag in one hand, her expression tired but bright, expecting to see him on the couch or maybe by the window, his usual spots, but he wasn't there. Him, she called softly, confused. Then, Wan came his calm voice. She turned toward it and her breath hitched. There he was, standing tall, without his crutches. He stood on his own, shoulders relaxed, spine straight, legs steady. A slow, proud grin tugged at his lips as he took a few strong steps toward her. Wan dropped her back, her hands flew to her mouth as her eyes widened in disbelief. Tears filled her eyes before spilling down her cheeks, and a choked gasp escaped her. "You're walking." He didn't say anything. He simply walked to her and without hesitation swept her off her feet and spun her in the air, her laughter mixing with his as they twirled like two souls finally free. "I missed this," he whispered as he slowly set her back down, only to immediately pull her into a kiss, soft at first, then deeper, emotional, as if pouring months of hope and silent love into it. Wan's hands scrubbed his jaw, his thumbs brushing away her tears. "How, when? How did you?" He chuckled breathlessly, leaning his forehead against hers. "You think I'd let you see me in those crutches forever? I wanted to surprise you. I have been practicing every single day for you." Her chest heavy with emotion. "You idiot," she whispered, punching his arm softly. "You beautiful, stubborn idiot." He grinned, kissing her again, slower, lingering. "I wanted this moment to be perfect," he said. "You deserve perfect." "And this is perfect," she whispered. "You are perfect." He reached for his phone, swiping through a playlist. A slow romantic tune began to play in the background piano. Soft strings, gentle beats. "Dance with me," he said, offering his hand. She took it instantly. Their bodies molded against each other. Theo's hand on the small of her back, Wan's arms flew around his neck. They moved gently, swaying in synth, as though the world around them melted into nothing. "I used to dream about this," she murmured, her cheek against his chest. "So did I," he whispered. "I imagined us dancing, no pain, no crutches, no distance, just you and me. You make it sound like a fairy tale," she said, teasingly, pulling back to look up at him. He smiled. "You're my fairy tale, Wan, my most real one." She kissed his collarbone, nuzzling against his skin. "You're so dramatic, and you love it." "I do." They giggled, swaying slowly, stealing kisses in between. Their touch gentle, affectionate, worshipful. Dan's hands slid to her waist, fingertips pressing into her curves as he leaned into his. "Can I tell you something?" Why nodded, brushing her nose against his. "Anything." "I don't think I could have done this without you," he said, voice low and sincere. "You were the reason I got back up. You made me want to try. You gave me something to fight for, someone to live for." Her heart squeezed, lips parting slightly as she whispered, "You were always strong there. I just reminded you." He kissed her softly, deeply, until they were breathless. The music played on, their bodies growing closer, fingers exploring gently. His hand ran down her back, pulling her flesh against him. She felt the heat building between them, the hunger, the closeness, the unspoken desire. "Stay with me," he whispered against her lips. "I'm not going anywhere," she murmured. "I have waited so long for this," he whispered, voice husky filled with restrained yearning. "So have I," she breathed, trembling beneath his touch. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you more," he breathed.